Previously on The CEO's Wife, Priscilla's world was shattered when she caught her fiancé, Ryan, with her own foster sister, Regina. In one devastating night, she lost everything. But fate had other plans. A mysterious billionaire, a drunken proposition, a marriage contract signed in the heat of the moment. And when morning came, Fredrick Lincoln revealed his true identity. The richest man in the country. Now Priscilla faces an impossible choice. Honor a contract she never meant to sign, or walk away from the man who could change her destiny forever. But her troubles are just beginning. This is The CEO's Wife, Episode 2. Can I at least go home to get some of my files and documents? Priscilla asked hopelessly. Fredrick glared at her and said, 3 days is all you have got. Don't think you can run away from me, he added. 3 days is a lot, she muttered under her breath. Priscilla let out a sigh of relief as Fredrick stormed out of the room. She quickly got up to leave the mansion. Outside, a black limousine waited for her to come out. As the chauffeur saw Priscilla, he immediately came out of the car and opened the car door for her to enter. Good morning, madam, the chauffeur greeted me as he opened the door. Good morning, Priscilla replied. There won't be any need for the ride. I can find my way back home, she added. No, madam, I have to take you home and bring you back as instructed by the boss, the chauffeur replied, as he was aware of the consequences that came with disobeying Lord Fredrick. What? He instructed you to do such a thing. Tell your boss I am not going with you, Priscilla said as she walked out. At the Walls mansion, everyone was seated discussing the next step in the future. Priscilla walked in, and everyone fixed their gaze on her. Rose might be old, but she looked high-spirited with her sharp eyes. Staring at Priscilla, she put on her usual gloomy face, and while she was not really angry just yet, she looked intimidating enough. Speak of the devil, Rose said. Since Priscilla remained silent, Rose thought she was scared, and she also calmed down. Fine. Since you are back now, let's not talk about the past anymore. Let's have dinner in the dining hall, Rose said, forcing a smile on her face as she looked at Priscilla. At that, Rose went to the dining hall without waiting for them. Priscilla knitted her brows, but eventually she followed her. Priscilla, I already asked Mirabelle to prepare your favorite dishes for you. Have a try now, Rose said. Regina stood up to put some food on Priscilla's plate. Here, you can have this, Regina said to Priscilla. Priscilla held back the disgust in her heart, but she did not eat and did not answer her either. Rose instantly felt enraged, seeing her sitting still, coldly. What? Is it just so difficult for you to eat something? You show no care for Regina. You should thank her at least, Rose thundered. Priscilla remained silent. Though she did not want to argue, she could never be nice to a woman who had slept with her fiancé, let alone share a table with her. She put down her fork and said coldly, No need. I am not hungry. What do you want exactly? Let's go straight to the point. Rose looked at her, and a flash of shrewdness could be seen in her eyes. This time, she was not angry. Instead, she said in a grim tone, I can see your hatred for this family. Fine, I won't force you. I just want you to know something today. 2 days from now is your sister's birthday party. There would be a birthday party. I have already discussed it with the Smith family. They will announce their relationship at the party. I need you to be there, and if anyone asks you, you just say it is your sister who is engaged to Ryan at the beginning. That would be good for you too. Now that you have broken up, don't let the past influence your life. Priscilla stared at her in shock. She never expected this from her. She turned to Regina, and after a while she suddenly laughed in a low voice. So you mean you want me to be a shield? A stepping stone for their engagement? Rose's face darkened in displeasure. Watch your language. It's not just for your sister, it's also for you. After a while, she added, you are a girl anyway. You will still need to marry someone someday. It won't look so good if everyone knows you were dumped. What if I refuse? Priscilla said with disgust on her face. It's not up to you. I have made the decision, Rose said. Priscilla almost jumped out of her seat suddenly. Her face was gloomy, her eyes cold. She just stared at her. Walking out of the house, it has been 8. Though it was summer and everywhere seemed cool, her blood was still boiling from the anger. Priscilla always knew that Rose liked Regina more, but she did not expect it to be to such an extent. How ridiculous! Standing by the roadside, she felt indeed furious, but after a while, she just calmed down. Lost in thought, a black Audi drove past in front of her, and stopped right in front of the gate of the mansion. Priscilla was confused, and the next second, the familiar voice of a man came to her ears. "Priscilla, why are you here?" the voice said. She looked over at the man, who was getting out of the car. It was Ryan. He was dressed in an Armani suit today, its blue color showing his upright posture and pride. She curled her lips with a hint of mockery and said in a cold voice, "You must be too busy with your business to remember my name." Ryan paused for a while, and his face stiffened slightly. He sure won't forget Priscilla was also one of the Ramos family, and she was standing in her home. It's only that she had long broken up with the family and had never been back. It was natural for him to feel surprised seeing her. Priscilla's sarcastic remarks didn't force Ryan back. Ryan said sternly, "Well, since you are here, I have something to ask you. Where the hell did you go last night? Why didn't you answer my calls?" Priscilla's eyes twitched slightly. Calls. Last night, Ryan did call her a few times, but she was with Fredrick and didn't hear it at all. Priscilla did check the missed calls this morning, but she didn't bother to call him back. After all, considering their current relationship, it was no longer appropriate for her to show concern or scold him. Thinking about it, she replied lazily, "Ryan, do you think you mean a lot to me?" Ryan was stunned. "What? Why should I have to answer your call?" Priscilla added. Ryan was speechless for a second. After realizing what Priscilla meant, he burst into a rage. "Priscilla, you are so ungrateful, I'm concerned about you," Ryan said. "Oh? Does Regina know that you care so much about me?" Priscilla said with a sly grin on her face. The ends of her eyes rose, and she looked at him with a smirk. Ryan's face changed slightly as he was furious, but he was unable to utter a word. Just then, a clear, sweet voice came from the villa entrance. "Ryan," the voice called out. As soon as Ryan turned around, he saw Regina running out in a purple, long-sleeved dress. Seeing her, Ryan's face softened a little, and he strode towards her. "Why do you get out? You are wearing a sleeved shirt. It's hot outside." "I'm fine. I am not hot." Regina looked up at Ryan with a smile, and then her gaze fell on Priscilla. Regina took a move forward, followed by a sweet smile, and hurried towards Priscilla. "My dear sister, you are still here. Didn't you come here in your car? Do you want me to call a driver to send you home?" Regina asked. Priscilla looked at the tenderness and kindness on her face and mockingly curled the corner of her lips. "Don't bother, I can take a taxi myself." Regina paused for a moment and said with a smile, "Sister, don't try to be brave anymore. It's not easy to get a taxi here, and it's too late. It's not safe for you to go back home alone." "Let me call a driver to send you home," she said. Regina beckoned to a servant to come closer. "Ask the driver to come here and take my sister back." "Yes, Ma," the servant replied and turned around to call someone. Priscilla sneered in her heart and naturally did not show any good expression on her face. She said coldly, "Regina, didn't you hear me? Did I agree to let the driver take me home?" Regina was stupefied. She shrank back as if she was frightened by her sister's harsh words. "Sister, don't be angry. I just care about you." "Care about me?" Priscilla sneered and stepped forward at a casual pace. "Regina, could you stop being deceitful?" Priscilla said. Ryan was furious, but Regina hurriedly stopped him. "Ryan, forget it. My sister is in a bad mood. Let's not argue with her," she said, calming him down. Ryan stretched out his hand, pointing his finger at Priscilla with hatred in his eyes. In the end, he shook his hand heavily. "Okay, I don't want to argue with you. With such a cold and harsh personality like yours, you will never find a boyfriend. Don't regret it when it happens," he said to Priscilla. "Let's go, Regina," he said angrily, panting, and pulled Regina into the villa. Standing alone, Priscilla shivered for no reason. "No one wanted to be with me," she said to herself. Suddenly, she felt a dull pain in her heart, and her eyes were sore. However, she tilted her head and blinked her eyes hard to suppress the sourness. Then she laughed at herself. "What are you crying for? I have heard more mean words before. A filthy mouth can't utter decent language. Are you really going to fight with a bitch?" She took a few deep breaths to calm herself down. Beep beep! Somewhere ahead, a car honked. 2 clear whistles sounded from the front. Priscilla looked up. In the night, a black Rolls-Royce came towards where she was standing. The bright headlights were shining brightly, causing her to raise her hands and narrow her eyes. Soon the car passed her and stopped in front of her. "Miss Priscilla Walls, we meet again," a voice spoke. The man who got out of the car was David, Fredrick Lincoln's assistant. Of course, she knew him. After all, she saw him earlier in the morning. Priscilla forced a smile, embarrassed. Why are you here? Mr. Lincoln just finished a dinner party and happened to pass by. It looked like you were standing on the roadside, so he ordered me to stop. Saying that, David opened the car door for her with a smile, his back bent respectfully. Miss Priscilla, please, he said with his hands demonstrating the gesture. Priscilla hesitated. She looked up at the man sitting in the car. He sat there quietly, his elbow resting on the window and his eyes looking out. She didn't know what he was looking at. His entire body looked rather lazy. Fredrick's handsome side face could be seen even under the cover of the night. Only the cold aura emitted from his body made her feel that this man was indifferent. Priscilla paused for a few seconds and eventually got into the car. As soon as she got into the car, she smelled a strong odor of alcohol. Priscilla was slightly stunned and blurted out subconsciously, "Are you drunk?" Fredrick turned around, and his stare finally focused on Priscilla's face. The pretty woman in a peach gown looked clean and fresh. However, there seemed to be a trace of sadness in her eyes that had not completely faded and had been captured by him. His eyes deepened. He didn't say anything and only nodded slightly. "Well, I drank a little," Fredrick said. Priscilla forced a smile. The man was really good at lying. With such a strong concentration of alcohol smell in the car, how could he drink just a little? She thought to herself. He drank a lot, she muttered to herself. However, she was not in a position to care for him and was too embarrassed, so she pursed her lips and stopped talking. David turned around and asked her with a smile, "Miss Priscilla, where do you live?" Priscilla said her address for David to enter into the vehicle navigator before starting the car. There was a dead silence in the car. Priscilla crossed her fingers, her hands in her lap, and tilted her head towards the window. Perhaps because the aura of the man beside her was too powerful, Priscilla felt a bit restrained, and her entire spine was tensed up. Fredrick looked at her cautious expression and smiled secretly. "Did you come to the Walls residence?" he asked. Priscilla was stunned for a moment before she responded, "Yes. As far as I can remember, you requested to go home to pick something. What brought you here suddenly?" Fredrick asked again. As a woman who had slept with a rich billionaire, Priscilla expected him to tail her. So it wasn't surprising that Fredrick knew her situation. She hesitated for a moment and did not answer him directly. "For some private matters. Anyway, I need to come back," she said. "Private matter?" Fredrick asked as he raised his eyebrows. His handsome face was tinged with a fake smile. His fingers, resting on the car window, tapped slightly. "Well, as your husband, I should have the right to know more about your private affairs." He said this with a smile on his face. If it were someone else, he would have thought that he was joking. However, Priscilla knew that he wasn't joking. Although Fredrick had a smile on his face, his eyes were very serious, as if warning Priscilla that she'd better tell him the truth and not force him to probe into the matter. Priscilla smiled helplessly and did not dare to resist. She had no choice but to tell him honestly what happened. She was secretly looking forward to it. After all, she was the woman whose name was printed on his marriage certificate. When he saw his woman being bullied, he should help her, she fantasized in her head. For example, turning the car around immediately and rushing back to the Walls family house to help her vent her anger. She thought. What she heard next brought her back to reality. "So you were just upset about that scumbag?" he asked. Priscilla was startled. She laughed awkwardly. "No, I'm not upset. Who told you I was?" Fredrick forced a mocking smile. The smile on his lips turned into a light mockery. Priscilla pursed her lips, feeling a bit guilty. Her eyes drifted for a while before she finally lowered her voice and muttered, "I am just unwilling to give up like that. Not to mention that she stole my boyfriend. I had to cooperate with them to stage a show, seeing them publicly displaying their affection. I am sick even thinking about it." Looking at the depressed look in her eyes, Fredrick pondered for a moment. "So what are you going to do?" he asked. He didn't believe that she would be so obedient to be the stepping stone for those scumbags. Sure enough, the woman who was still depressed a second ago immediately showed a sly expression. Fredrick hooked his lips and stopped asking. "All right, then I'll wait and see your brilliant plan," he said. The car soon arrived at the apartment where Priscilla lives. It was a small apartment located in the downtown area and was surrounded by a circle of planted greenery. David pulled the car over, and Priscilla got out, waving towards the man sitting in the back. "Mr. Lincoln, thank you so much for sending me back. Goodbye," she said as she waved her hands. Fredrick's hands, which were tidying his sleeve, paused. He looked at her and corrected. "It is time for you to change your title, Mrs. Lincoln." Priscilla froze, her face suddenly flushed. She glanced at David, who was sitting in the driver's seat, smiling in a teasing way. She glanced at him, and then she answered earnestly, "Didn't you say you would give me 3 days to get my stuff and think it through? I still have time. What's the rush?" Fredrick thought for a while and agreed. He had always been a faithful man and would never lie. Anyway, 1 day had already passed, and there were only 2 days left. He was indeed not in a hurry. Thinking of this, his eyes were tinged with a layer of a shallow smile as he looked at her and waved his hands. "Good, then goodbye, my future Mrs. Lincoln." The black Rolls-Royce drove out of her sight, and Priscilla withdrew her gaze, heading for her apartment. When she opened the door, she received a call from her assistant, Amor. "Hello," Priscilla said. "Good evening, ma'am. I received an email from Mr. Smith. It was written that an emergency meeting will be held tomorrow morning, and all the senior management are required to attend," she said. "Okay, thank you," Priscilla answered. "Do not be late," Amor reminded Priscilla. "Okay, I won't," Priscilla answered and hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone, she clicked on her email, and sure enough, she saw a group of emails from Ryan. Selling sex toys was just her sideline, as her main job was as the public relations manager of an entertainment company under the Smith Group. This company was the first company that Harold Smith handed over to Ryan. The company was in a bad situation at that time, and Harold handed the company over to him as a test. During that time, Ryan was so busy that Julian helped him handle a few cases perfectly, which impressed him. When Jillian returned from abroad, she agreed to lead the public relations department of this company due to Ryan's begging. Since then, the agency, called Famous Entertainment, has hardly come across any major problems. Even in today's increasingly competitive industry environment, it made generous profits. In just 2 years, it had rapidly developed from a small company on the verge of bankruptcy to a large media company that had no rival other than Anderson International. Priscilla was not a genius and had never been in this field before. Besides her talent, she had worked hard day and night to make such achievements. She did all these just because it was Ryan's company. Ryan, on the other hand, chose not to disclose their relationship. At that time, she didn't think much about it, and just assumed that he didn't want their relationship to interfere with their work, so she continued to support him and didn't say anything in front of others. Hence, except for her best friend Nancy, no one knew she worked for the Smith Group. After thinking through what happened in the past, it was just Ryan's excuse, as he simply gave himself a way out. It was easy to tell whether a man loved you or not from such details. Thinking of this, Priscilla smiled coldly. She took her phone and sent a message to Harold. Then she tossed the phone aside and went into the bathroom. By the time she finished washing up and came out, she received a reply from Harold. "I have prepared what you want. Come over and sign it at 10 a.m. tomorrow. It will take effect as soon as it is signed," he replied to her text. Priscilla's slender fingers flipped on the screen as she replied, "Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith." The next day, Priscilla arrived at the office early in the morning. She felt something was wrong as soon as she entered the office, as everyone inside was whispering about something. When they saw Priscilla enter, their faces changed slightly, and their mouths shut up immediately, leaving her odd glances. Priscilla's eyebrows sank as she entered her office without looking sideways. Nancy also noticed her arrival and followed her into the office. Nancy came in with strained discomfort, looking at Priscilla with sympathy in her eyes. "What's going on? We haven't met for 2 days, and you are looking at me like this?" Priscilla asked. Nancy smiled awkwardly and said with embarrassment, "Priscilla, have you heard of anything today?" Priscilla raised her eyebrow, picked up the cup on the table, and got up to get some water. She replied casually on her way, "No, what's the matter? I heard a new employee would come to the company today. It seems she will work in the PR department," Nancy replied. "Really? Did everyone get the message?" Priscilla asked. "I heard about it from gossip in the HR department. The girl is a veteran in the PR industry. She seems to be quite experienced and has done numerous cases for many A-list performers," Nancy said. She paused for a second and hesitantly looked at Priscilla, with a hint of embarrassment in her eyes. What exactly does Mr. Smith mean by hiring such a person? Nancy asked. In the PR industry, seniority mattered. Who would believe that Ryan would hire such a big shot to serve as Priscilla's subordinate? If she were not a subordinate, then she would be. Priscilla finally understood why everyone had been looking at her strangely today. She averted her eyes, hiding the emotions in her eyes. She smiled faintly and said, "I understand. You can go out now." Seeing her calm expression, Nancy felt worried, but she knew that it was not her turn to speak. She could just leave with worries. After Nancy left, Priscilla pondered for a moment before smiling. Gathering her belongings briefly, she took out the envelope she prepared earlier from her bag and headed for the conference room. 9 o'clock in the morning. The meeting room was already filled with executives of famous entertainment. Seeing her coming in, everyone greeted her with sincerity and hypocrisy. After all, the courage she had shown in the past 2 years impressed most of them. But there was still a small portion that felt she was simply a young and naive girl who was a little unqualified for such an important position. Priscilla had no time to think about what these people were thinking and walked to her seat and sat down. Just then, the door of the conference room opened again. When she raised her eyes, she saw Ryan walking in with a group of people. Priscilla's pupils shrank and her face went cold. Following behind Ryan were Regina and her agent, Terry, who were between his two secretaries. Everyone in the entertainment industry knew that Terry became famous as a PR professional. In the last generation, more than half of the A-list performers were promoted by her, which was a great achievement. However, she transformed into an agent later. Not knowing whether the entertainment industry changed so fast, or due to fierce competition or other elements, none of the performers she took charge of became well known. Now, the most famous performer she was in charge of was Regina. So the big shot Ryan hired was her? Priscilla curled her lips with mockery. The rest of the executives were confused when they saw Regina and Terry. Regina was naturally known to everyone as an A-list star in the entertainment industry. Although she only started her career 4 years ago, her popularity has always remained high. It was said that she was the daughter of the Walls family. Although she was currently not signed to any agency, with a powerful background, she had already set up her own studio. Priscilla looked at the watch in her hand with an expressionless face. After a while, she finally heard Ryan coughing. "Okay, time's up, let's start the meeting," Ryan said. It was then that everyone sat back in their seats. Ryan glanced at Priscilla, a hint of complexity flashing through his gaze. But in the end, he felt guilty and said in a deep voice, "Let me start today's meeting with an introduction. This is Regina. I think everyone present should know her," he said. The crowd echoed, "Of course! Regina is so famous in our country. I have always seen her on TV and never met her in real life." "Well, she's much prettier in person than on TV," a voice from the crowd said. "No wonder she is the most popular star present," another voice chipped in. The crowd slithered, and Ryan nodded with satisfaction. "I called everyone here today to announce 2 things. First, Regina will sign a contract with Famous Entertainment to become our important artist from now on," Ryan said. The crowd was stunned at first, but then it was followed by thunderous applause. "Well, is that true? That would be great," a voice said. Miss Regina had already been so well known. "As a member of Famous Entertainment, I believe we will make great achievements together and benefit each other," Ryan added. Hence, everyone was happy that such a female artist was willing to sign a contract with Famous Entertainment. Ryan was satisfied with this effect. After a while, he raised his hand slightly to interrupt the excited voices in the conference room. "In addition, there is one more thing. The lady sitting next to me is Terry. Most of you present here may not know her, but for those who have been working in the industry for more than 10 years, I think you must have heard of her name. Today, I bring her here because she will become our new PR manager and lead the PR department to a new level in the future, to make great progress, and to make our company better and stronger." The conference room fell into dead silence after he finished his speech. Everyone seemed to be caught unexpectedly, and it took several seconds before a few sparse applauses were heard. Then all eyes were turned to Priscilla. There was sympathy and regret in those eyes, as if they had finally confirmed the widespread rumors in the company this morning. Some people didn't know about Terry's background. After inquiring about it from their colleagues, their gaze became somewhat complicated when looking at Priscilla. After all, although Priscilla's outstanding ability was obvious to all, Considering her qualifications, her ability wouldn't be inferior to Terry's. But since Mr. Smith had already hired Terry, they couldn't say anything. In the end, there were still one or two colleagues who would stand for Priscilla. After seeing this, they stood up indignantly and uttered their objections. "I disagree," one of the colleagues said. "I don't agree either. As we all know, our PR manager is Miss Priscilla. She has been doing a good job. She lent a helping hand when the company was in the most critical time. She led the PR department to this day. Isn't it too hasty for Mr. Smith to fire her?" another colleague asked. "Yes, miss. Priscilla didn't do anything wrong. If Mr. Smith wants to replace her, you must give us a reason, right?" another voice questioned. Although Terry used to be a very good and famous PR manager before, she hadn't dealt with any cases for 10 years. "And I wonder if she's still capable now?" another asked. "If she isn't, won't it be a waste of time?" said another voice. Like a stone being cast into the lake, their challenges instantly stirred up 1,000 waves, causing the rest of the employees to stand up and back her. "Yeah, although Terry was prestigious, it has been 10 years since her peak time." One of my colleagues raised her opinion. "The popular performers in the entertainment industry have changed several times. Is it okay for her to continue to be a PR manager now?" another voice questioned. With doubtful stares from the crowd, Ryan frowned slightly. As he was about to speak, his sleeve was suddenly tugged by someone. Regina gave him a hint. Ryan pursed his lips, and then he saw Terry smiling slightly and stepping forward to address the public. "It's just a misunderstanding." "It's just a misunderstanding," Terry said as she gazed around the crowd and finally landed her eyes on Priscilla. "Mr. Smith did not invite me over this time to replace her. Miss Priscilla had worked hard and had a stabilizing effect on the company. Why would Mr. Smith make such an unwise decision to disappoint you all?" Terry said. Hearing this, the crowd couldn't help wondering. "Then what did Mr. Smith mean by his words?" they murmured. Terry smiled and calmly said, "As we all know, Famous Entertainment is no longer a small, insignificant company as it was 2 years ago. Today, apart from Anderson International, we hardly have any competitors. In other words, we have no other enemy except Anderson International. I think everyone knows how powerful they are. It takes more than sophisticated business skills and responsiveness to surpass a competitor like that. It requires a profound understanding of the industry and a wide range of connections. These two aspects happen to be what Miss Priscilla lacked the most. After all, she had only worked in the position for 2 years. That's why Mr. Smith asked me to come over. He wants me to help her manage the PR department and fill in the gaps concerning industry information, as well as networking. That's all." Everyone knew what Mr. Smith meant after listening to Terry's speech. So that was it. It couldn't be denied that what Terry said was true. Today, individual capabilities are not that important compared to rich financial resources, strong connections, and a deep understanding of the industry. One must be well prepared for the future, and, indeed, one can only develop these abilities by accumulating enough experience and being immersed in the industry for a long time. Betrayed by her family. Humiliated at work. Trapped in a marriage contract. Priscilla thought she'd hit rock bottom, but she's about to discover she's stronger than anyone ever gave her credit for. Terry thinks she can just waltz in and take Priscilla's job. Ryan thinks he can replace her so easily. They have no idea who they're dealing with. Because the woman who married Fredrick Lincoln is not the same woman who let herself be walked over before. What will Priscilla do? Will she fight for her position? Or does she have something even better planned? And what role will Fredrick play in all of this? Find out in the next episode of The CEO's Wife. If you're loving The CEO's Wife, hit that subscribe button right now so you won't miss the next episode. We're uploading every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday at 6 p.m. GMT +1. And trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. Turn on notifications by clicking that bell icon so YouTube alerts you the moment episode 3 drops. Now let's talk in the comments. What made you angrier in this episode? Was it Rose forcing Priscilla to be Regina's stepping stone? Or is Ryan trying to replace her at work? And here's the big question. Do you think Priscilla will quit her job? Or will she fight to keep her position? Drop your predictions below. I'm reading every comment. Oh, and one more thing. Do you think Fredrick will step in to help her? Or will Priscilla handle this on her own? If you're Team Priscilla and want to see her get revenge, give this video a thumbs up. It helps us reach more romance lovers like you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in episode 3. This is Quintel Romance, where every story is a love letter to your heart.